Hey everyone, Eric Watson here, freelance writer, player of games, runner of recorder videos, and tabletop role-playing aficionado. Welcome to the Thursday edition of my bi-weekly behind-the-scenes DM-only live stream, Crafting the Deep, which I build, write, and prepare for our next session of Call from the Deep. If you are playing characters Gottwald, Mox, Sabra, or Twirl, this stream is not meant for you, but the rest of you are always welcome. Be aware of spoilers, though. We stream our D&D sessions live on YouTube every Friday. You can join our official Discord server with invite link in the description below. If you'd like to support the channel, please check out patreon.com/RogueWatson. For our campaign, we use Roll20. For streaming, I use OBS Studio. My internet went down literally right when I was about to start streaming. We have fiber optic too, and it was down for like 5 minutes. So fingers crossed that was just a weird random blip and does not happen again for the rest of the stream. As always, if something happens and I'm less than halfway, I will attempt to make the stream because YouTube does not like being disconnected. If I'm over halfway, probably not. At least it's not as bad when we lost power. I don't know if we saw news posts about a bunch of thunderstorms blasting through the North Texas region. We did get hit by those on Tuesday. In fact, we got woken up at 6:30 a.m. with like tornado alarms and warnings and shit going off. We all had to wake up the kids, huddle into the closet that we have. Thankfully, nothing crazy happened, but we did get apparently hurricane force winds. Backyard got a little trashed, but not too horrible. We managed to find all the pillows and things. Like, nobody really expected this to happen. We did lose power, though, for about 5 or 6 hours, which was not cool. My parents lost it for even longer. My poor sister lost power for, like, 12 hours or something insane and, like, lost all of her fridge stuff. Like, it was real nasty. So that was not a fun summer storm at all. With this crafting stream, though, we are going to be talking about the Styes, which I've looked at, any kind of encounters or things we can do along the way. I really don't think we're going to do anything like that, though. We just came off of a big, long, grueling dungeon crawl with the Sahuagin stronghold with the final enemy, and the players can just hug the coast to go down to Orlumbor, and I'm just kind of excited to get them into this next step. So I may just... and we're going to have a level up episode also, so we may just kind of montage our way through. Maybe they can stop in Waterdeep, and I feel like if we were more of a, like, heavier RP group or something, then maybe we'd want to just kind of hang out in Waterdeep and do stuff, but I feel like other than them just wanting to shop for whatever, I guess I could come up with maybe like a magic item vendor. Maybe they can spend some money, although they didn't really get any treasures, monetary-wise, from the last adventure. In fact, how much money are they sitting on right now? That's probably a good thing to check in with. Gottwald has 500 gold. Lord. He's millionaires already. Mac has 388 gold. Savra, I'm guessing, has the most. No, 418 gold. Why did Gottwald end up with so much money? And then Torl has 440 gold. So pretty similar across the board. Hundreds of gold pieces, though. They would just about be able to afford at least buying some uncommon items or something. So that might be something I would throw together for Waterdeep. But in terms of like quest arcs or anything, I mean, Call from the Deep does have a lot of stuff in here, and I was looking at like what I can add, and there's even a section, for Waterdeep quests that spin off of having done the big attack on Waterdeep that you can do. But I just don't... I feel like they're all used for the time period we were in Neverwinter for, and we've already kind of passed that time period, and I've already talked about how Waterdeep has kind of rebuffed the attacks thanks to a lot of our existing heroes, like the Avengers equivalent of our world, are already in Waterdeep, and now the players helped just, thwart a lot of the enemy plans by destroying the Sahuagin threat in the stronghold. So I don't think we need to do too much in there. I mean, I could do something with the Kraken Society, I guess. I do want to introduce the Merid at some point, Sultan Kalaptikos, because his quest is kind of a cool side jaunt where you end up going to the elemental plane of water and going to this really exotic like tavern with a bunch of crazy creatures in it. That just seems like a really fun kind of side excursion, maybe like single episode session or something. But I'll need to... I can put that Merid in the conch, which is literally like a magic lamp that the Merid pops out of. That could be anywhere. It doesn't have to be the Umberly Cache underwater thing. In fact, I'm thinking I may have it be where if anything in Waterdeep, maybe they'll learn the quest that like, oh yeah, there was a pirate attack nearby, but they didn't quite attack us. Instead, I think they were after something else, and they plundered this cache. And maybe the players can learn that like they did steal some kind of merit conch, and that's something they'll find from Tentrix and Tentrix's lair or something. And maybe I can even use the merit as an enemy because it's been ordered by, you know, Tentrix or something. But I'll probably save that for putting it in the Nilanther Isles and let that be a cool reward they can gain there. And then that's something that can be a quest to spin off after they do the, let's see, what chapter is that? That's chapter 4, which chapter 4 actually includes also all of Purple Rocks. I kind of wish they'd have broken it up and that this was its own chapter, and then Escarl was actually... Yeah, if I were organizing, I would probably put chapter 5. I would have included the Purple Rock stuff in chapter 5 and just had chapter 4 be the Tentrix stuff. Anyway, so all that to say, I don't really have any other encounters or things, formal like adventures to throw at the players. Just pacing-wise, I feel like I want to get them to the Styes, which is down here in Orlumbor in our campaign, relatively quickly. Tornadoes are crazy scary. We generally only get mini super duper harmless ones here, like dust levels. We call them whirly whirlies. That is a hilariously cute name. Yeah, we do have crazy scary tornadoes. I will say most of the crazy scary tornadoes are in Oklahoma versus here, but we do definitely get tornadoes here in Texas. The worst things we get are tornadoes and really bad thunderstorms, and they usually come hand in hand. This was probably the first tornado. So we have tornado watch and tornado warning, right? Watch just means, hey, the conditions are technically in effect that could produce a tornado. Warning means we have like sightings of tornadoes like in different areas, or like the tornado strength winds or something, whatever they call it, and you need to take shelter now. Basically, watch is just like, hey, be aware that this could happen, and then warning is like, you got to take shelter. We woke up at 6:30 a.m. on Tuesday to tornado warning, which is pretty nuts because that went from like 0 to 60 in terms of like the stress level and the adrenaline kicking in. So that was the first time. I don't ever remember we having to shelter at our old house, for example. We were in our old house for like 7 years. So it's not at all very common in here. And even growing up, I can remember only a handful of times where we literally had to shelter in place because it was just that bad, basically, or that dramatic. So, yeah, it's definitely scary. But the power outage is just such a pain in the ass. And honestly, isn't that the worst part of like disaster? I mean, obviously disasters are bad too, but I've read like some of the worst part about natural disasters is like the aftermath, that it just knocks out like, you know, the logistics of everything, and the chain of like bringing just food to places breaks down, and electricity breaks down, and like all of those infrastructures breaking down is what really causes all the problems. Because the thing itself obviously happens and does damage and can kill people, but it's the after effect that is usually the struggle that we have to deal with. All right, so we're talking about the Styes, which Bear did make me some maps, which I still haven't plugged in there. I'm so sorry, Bear. I've been so flippin' busy. I just got done with an hour meeting, which was great, but I need to add this in here. Let's see, ghosts of maps. We can all look at the map together, because I think last time on Monday we talked about part 1, part 2, and I think I looked at part 3 also, which was the warehouse. I think we covered kind of the first half of the Styes adventure, which is actually pretty cut and dry when it comes to the investigation of the murder of the serial killer, which leads to this one person who is at a warehouse, who lives on a boat attached to a crane, attached to a warehouse. This feels like such a Dishonored level. And it is like a gauntlet of attacks, which is quite the change from the investigation that it starts with. Now, patron Refus was very kind to give me a long Styes story, because I did ask if anybody had played this and kind of what was their experience level with it. And Refus said actually had everybody at level 9, although they were a heroic level 9, which means they had extra, which I appreciated that he said that everybody was a little bit more maybe overpowered because of the various items and things they had. He says he changed the town-killing sadness angle to be powering a MacGuffin to break magical constraints, keeping the Kraken in place and not terrorizing the coast. That's pretty interesting. The guard shakedown at the beginning made Rephram, which is the NPC I want to use, also a worshiper of one of the PC's gods, to add a connection. The only one I have who worships a god is the Fathomless, and that has very different connotations to my campaign, so probably can't use that connection. I played the Asylum in a way they couldn't just walk in and investigate. Emil was semi-helpful, but I ended up played up the harried busy person angle. The players ended up committing one of the others so they could investigate. That's amazing. Investigate Jeremy's old cell, then shadow step or teleport out. I do feel like I should do something creepier extra with the Asylum, but the Asylum also does not have its own map, so I don't know if I want to do anything that's like battle map wise. There's a part in the first Pillars of Eternity game where they do a good job where you walk into an asylum and you have to investigate something, and then of course something happens in the middle of the asylum that like creates a bunch of bad guys and you have to fight your way out, which I thought was pretty cool. Mr. Dory's warehouse, the workers told the PCs didn't see anyone. They came back at night and it was a gauntlet. They fought the creatures as per the adventure, but never actually fought Dory and the golem as they were tapped out of resources. Instead, they RP'd a bit. They went and dressed as fellow cultists, convinced Mr. Dory the cult he had dealings with wanted him dead. And the PCs actually retreated, came back the next day. The counselor had fled, but they still got to search the room and get the next lead. So interesting, at level 9, they were still able to do, what is that? What did we say? 3 manticores and a slod, and then you have to fight a bunch of those scum creatures. Like, it is kind of nasty. I did see that Bear mentioned that the map is different than the description, so something we're gonna have to look at. I think he pays more attention to the written descriptions, so we'll have to possibly make those adjustments. Let's see, it's going to Styes. Let's add a page, and we'll call it, say, warehouse. Oh, if this is sized correctly, but it says 50-50 on there. Okay, let's see if how good this looks. You're seeing it together with me on Roll20 for the first time. Let's see, do not adjust the page size because I realized I did not make this the right size. 50-50 is humongoid. That is kind of par for the course, isn't it? I'll leave dynamic lighting off for now. So this is, what's it called? A Hemlock Pit. Is that the name of the warehouse? Huh. Oh man, this is already looking nice. It's looking pretty nice to me. Oh, I love it. Look at the chain and the ship. Do we have a separate little inner ship? We do. Okay, with giant... oh, because there's water in there, because they have to immerse themselves in water. I get it. Yeah, it makes sense. And there's a giant thing bringing water in. Okay, so these are kind of the details that I think he was mentioning. Small ass crane right there. This is fabulous, because this is the main map they'll be actually battling on. So this is the thing I'll have to be working with. Gosh, I haven't put any dynamic lighting in here yet. Oh my goodness, I'm so behind on everything. I've got to... the thing is, I've been working on the Patreon game that's tonight. Then I'll have to panic and worry about the the Friday game on Friday. Okay, well that's looking pretty sexy. Another Bear Gardener amazing map. Has been supplying all of our Ghosts of Saltmarsh maps, which we've been using a lot of lately. So just to refamiliarize myself. So I like the idea that during the day they kind of shoo them away and say like, there's nothing here, there's just guards around, they're all corrupt. The only thing is the players may want to just bully their way inside, as players do, and if they do that, then the guards are still there. It says somewhere, I think they hang out during the loft. At night, it's guarded by 3 manticores and a red slod handler, which I guess Mr. Dory controls or has that control gem. And then the loft, the layer of the 3 manticores and the red slot are in the loft, which is D3. Which one is D3? Which is just the second floor here. So the ground floor, there's the entrance at the top. And then there's are these the crane controls, I guess? For the ship? That lines up correctly, maybe? Doesn't look like it does. There's an office here in D2, stairs in the corners, and then you go up to the second floor, which has a huge hole here, and this is where the stairs go up to. I guess the stairs go up to a third floor, though, and then the third floor is just this kind of balcony overlooking it, but that also has a door to the crane. Okay, so D1, D2, and D3. Now that I'm looking at the map, it helps it out a little bit. So there's the main entrance there. And there's the office space. There's the stairs. And then this is actually where the enemies hang out. So this is overlooking... Okay, it's overlooking this pile here. Are there descriptions in these rooms? Let's see. Interior of the warehouse is piled with crates, boxes, and packages, most marked with alchemist's personal symbols. And fragile, or handled with care. A closed door offers a way into a walled-in area to the northwest. A mechanical lift stands along the south wall to the east, and two iron spiral staircases rise from northeast and southwest corners. Okay. Okay, so it's a little elevator they can take or move crates around. The lift is operated by a winch. It can be used to move large objects between the area and the loft. At least 2 people are needed to operate the winch. Okay, but you don't have to use it because it's got stairs. The room bustles with 11 workers and 4 guards. Approach the character, which do have the thug stat block. We can probably use... Well, I mean, gosh, this is for level 11 and they still use thugs, so... it's not too, like, intimidating for players to deal with, but I guess it doesn't necessarily have to be, because the manticores are still there. Manticores fly between levels on constant patrol in the slots, spends its time lounging in the loft. If it needs to get down to the ground floor, it simply jumps, no clue to regenerate the damage. Takes from the fall, and then there's the fire hazard. The alchemical contents of the crates make the warehouse a risky place to have a fight. I love that so much, and that's absolutely got to happen. Like, man, that's glorious. What? Let's see. Kobold Fight Club doesn't exist anymore, does it? Or do people still use that? What's the thing you all use to look at your encounter builder stuff? Or, okay, there it is. koboldplus.club. Sure. So let's see. My group is 4 players. They'll be level 8. And what does that look like to battle 3 manticores and a red slod? So manticores are CR3. And a red slod is a CR5. So, surprisingly, that is considered a hard, although it says it feels deadly. That uses 3,900 XP, adjusted XP of 7,800, from a daily budget of 24,000. So, maybe not as bad as I was thinking. Gosh, that's for level 11, though. I'm thinking I had to scale that down. Now, the thing is, though, that's probably the first fight they're going to have, because everything up until that point is, like, social RP investigation stuff. I don't think they get into any fights, because I'm not throwing any encounters at them. 100% Gottwald will crank that lift. Yeah, just him and Borges maybe cranking it together again. That's what they do. So maybe that's not... Maybe I could just use these creatures as written, I guess. We fought a lot of manticores before. In fact, that might be, weirdly, one of the creatures... Well, no, they didn't end up in... What am I thinking of? I guess I'm thinking of I used a manticore in our Empire campaign at one point. And then a manticore appeared in Princes... Have we used a manticore again since then? Maybe not. Okay, maybe it's time I threw one out there. We did fight slods at some point. I know there's a slot in Tomb of Annihilation. I don't know what kind of slot it was. I think it was a more powerful one. Red slot feels like it's the most basic slot. It's your basic slot. No extra things about it at all, although it still has that creepy, like, infect you thing. Regeneration and magic resistance. It's just kind of meaty. I mean, 100 hit points with all those defenses. Otherwise, it's just got basic melee attacks. But the manticores can fly around and shoot their spikes, right? Yeah, they're tail spikes, 100-foot range, dealing 7 damage. And they can do 3 of them. Each one can make 3 tail spike attacks. God, that's pretty gnarly. Oh, potentially like 9 attacks in a round. But again, I fully presume the players will unleash because they haven't had a fight yet. So maybe we can actually throw all these creatures at them. So they're there during the day. They're just chilling up in the loft, I believe is what it says. They spend their days in the loft, respond quickly to any disturbance in the main warehouse below. So maybe there's some kind of whistle or something. Okay, so yeah, maybe we can actually use those creatures. What do we think? Is that too crazy, or do we think we can throw 3 manticores and a red slod at a level 8 party? But they're going to be a fully rested level 8 party. The crazy thing is, what this starts is like non-stop combat for a long time, which I'll probably be looking at adjusting. And I know we liked the scum. I just need to figure out how to reflavor this because it does look so much like an obvious like aboleth creature. It could also turn just Mr. Dory into like a scum type creature. This feels like such a unique thing to turn into like a minion-y thing. I think that's my problem, is to turn a creature that's got 100 hit points into something they fight like multiple times as if it were a minion, I think would be a huge slog. But if you used like just 1 or 2 of them as like mini bosses or bosses, I think it would go over a lot better. The upper walkway, which is the 3rd level, has nothing on it. Now only used as an approach to area D5. The door to area D5 is made of iron. By the way, I'm skipping basically the warehouse because we've kind of done all the investigation stuff, and I don't think there's any more I need to necessarily add to that at the moment. I think it's just a lot of cool social RP stuff that I don't plan on honestly changing too much, except for trying to nail down how to change the aboleth Kraken thing into the Mind Flayer. I guess I need to decide if I'm still using the Juvenile Kraken at the end, which Refus did said, unless there's a Kraken in Call from the Deep, you got to keep the Juvenile Kraken. I'm pretty sure there's a Kraken at the end of Call from the Deep. Let's see. I mean, it's a Kraken controlled by an Elder Brain. Let's see. Where is the Kraken? I'm looking at the Scarl map right now. I don't actually remember where it's at. Is it room 70? Elder Brain Chambers. The Chambers of Zelix 4, Domes of Crystal and Alien Metal. Guard Room, Brain Golem, Soulhagen Baron, Mind Flayers. God, this dungeon has multiple Mind Flayers, and it's all underwater. It's going to be crazy. Brain Chamber, Elder Brain Resting Pool. Okay, Zelix 4, the Elder Brain may have teleported in the pool to escape or ambush the characters. So that's not where the Kraken is. Do they not fight the Kraken? I thought they did. So it's force and full control of Slarkerthel. Use the Kraken's action in place of its own. Yeah, teleports up to area 70. I don't actually remember which room the Kraken is in. Do they have to actually fight a Kraken? Mind Flayers. Treasure safe, Gith pens, Gith prison. Gain several levels throughout Ascot. Yeah, that's crazy. This whole area is humongous. After characters kill Slarkerthel or Zelix 4. Alright, let's just click on Slarkerthel and see. CR 25. Ruin Areas B. Wait, he's in the ruins? He's not actually in the dungeon? Yeah, I missed that part. Okay, yeah, he's straight up at the top. Slarkerthel and Zelix 4 are here when the characters first arrive. The hole in the ocean floor leads to Area 21. That's why he's not in the dungeon. That's right, because he's fucking humongous. Area B is what? Probably just like the middle? I can barely read the lettering on here. That looks like A right there. C. Is that a B right there at the top, the northern entrance? Okay. So, I'm not sure they're actually meant to straight up fight Slarkworth, though. I think they're meant to just, like, avoid it. Which is probably the key I would go for, is, like, you're trying to do something. I need to reread Escar, I'll be honest. You're trying to, like, separate them and then fight the Elder Brain as the actual final boss with the Illithids and not try to fight the Kraken in full power, because that seems crazy. In which case, maybe we do leave the juvenile Kraken in there. Maybe that's what they're doing. They're thinking like, well, we've grafted. In fact, maybe that's the Mind Flayer's plan, is they have a juvenile Kraken and they're trying to tadpole it to create a new Kraken Illithid hybrid. But maybe it requires like a lot of tadpoles. I don't know how Mind Flayers create tadpoles, but maybe that's what's going on here. They're needing like so many extra tadpoles. Or they're trying to create a Neothalid, and maybe that's the size like tadpole. You need like one extra big one to give to the Kraken. So, because it would help if I change the least amount of stuff, because I could keep it where they still have the juvenile Kraken, which is still a pretty badass stat block. And then, but they're trying to have the juvenile Kraken as a, but I don't. So in that case, the juvenile Kraken is not evil. Aren't Krakens supposed to be straight up evil? Let's see. Chaotic evil. Yeah, they're nasty. Wearing its own foul will upon the seas. So the Kraken is not an innocent bystander here that's been captured. It's a horrifying evil creature. Or maybe they have been creating it? I just gotta nail this down. What is the most interesting thing? A juvenile Kraken is CR14. So it's not, I mean, it would be a cool ass thing to fight as a main boss fight. If they fight it and the Mind Flayer, there could be a funny bit where there's an extra objective at the end where they can do a thing that frees the Kraken from being a prisoner of the Mind Flayer. And then the Kraken kills the Mind Flayer, but then they have to deal with the Kraken because the Kraken is still like an evil monster. Like, we freed you, but now they're like, oh wait, it's also just a horrible titanic monstrosity we have to deal with. / let it be loose in the world. I could just cast like bolts of lightning. So that could be a cool twist. Have the Kraken kill somebody. I wonder how Twirl would respond to a juvenile Kraken. So we could keep that part of it. The one thing I need to nail down is the murderers. Because right now the murderers are just like this general feeling of like despair and evil that are being created in the town. And that is what's feeding the Kraken. Just to make it stronger. I do like the angle that the Mind Flayer, whichever one is here, specifically wants the Kraken under their control, similar to how they've got the Elder Brain grafted onto the other Kraken. So maybe they're trying to like tadpole this one. But to do so, like I said, they either need like a shit ton of tadpoles or like one big ass tadpole. Although I would be nervous about introducing a Neothalid in addition to the Kraken and the Mind Flayer in one big boss battle. The initial one has like multiple Aboleth and Chul and stuff, but also it's for 11th level, so that seems like it might be a bit much. So maybe I need to jump ahead and look at the other two maps and see how this whole thing plays out. All right, so upper walkway, the door is locked here. The crane, which is a rickety crane. I guess the crane is this whole area down here. We're still at the warehouse. A narrow rotting walkway with missing boards and no railing surrounds the rusting bulk of this ancient crane. The hulk of the ship dangles from the crane's arm 50 feet above the broad mud pool below. Crude bridge suspended between the crane and the ship's deck promises a treacherous climb. I wish it were a little bit longer. It only looks like it's 15 feet. Most people could just jump that. The walkway around the crane is rickety, more solid than it looks. The real danger of the walkway and the bridge comes from their uneven surface and the lack of a railing. A character moves no more than 10 feet per turn and devotes all their attention to watching where they place their feet. Is in no danger moving through this area. When a character moves quickly or performs any other action in addition to moving, must succeed on a saving throw or fall prone. By 5 or more, they slip and fall 60 feet. But they deal only 3d6 bludgeoning damage because of the soft, deep mud below. But the mud is contaminated. It's like, the good news is, you don't take as much damage when you fall. The bad news is, the ground is full of sewer plague and you could be diseased. Which sewer plague is actually not in the journal entry right now. It's fun. It's probably in the full Ghost of Saltmarsh one. 3 scum hidden inside the crane's shed stand guard over this area. What is the crane's shed? Is that supposed to be this box thing right here, like beneath the crane? Are scum normal size? Are they medium sized? Yeah, they're medium aberrations. Confronting tries to cross the bridge of the ship. So I'm calling out to alter the ship's occupants. So this is when it starts getting crazy. Because the scum are pretty powerful. They've got 100 hit points each. And then the upper deck, which is up here, I assume. That's what I was thinking of. Yeah, that's good. That's bad. Monkey's Paw episode. Was it the Monkey's Paw episode or the Gremlins episode? I don't remember. That's good. The mud is also cursed. That's bad. Scum that lurk in Area D7 patrol the upper deck once every 30 minutes. Most rely on the guards in Area D5 to warn them of intruders. Stress the ominous creaking and groaning from the chains holding it aloft. There's no danger of crashing to the ground, but it should feel like a dangerous environment. Yeah. It's a neat little dungeon. The gate through which water flows into Area D7 isn't locked or trapped, but lifting it open creates a lot of noise unless someone makes a successful DC 15 stealth check. Characters can drop down into D7. I assume that's this right here is the only way down. That's interesting. Yeah, the only apparent access to the vessel's interior is near the bow on the port side. A grate in the hull belches smoke while water flowing along a wooden trough pours through the gate into the hull. Thank you so much, Bear, for including all these details. That's pretty cool. So they actually just jump into here, into this pool, which is D7, where there are 3 more scum in there. Jesus, yeah, I'm gonna have to eliminate some of these. They're alerted by the scum guarding the crane. A water hazard, uncomfortably hot and exceedingly foul. Take 1 fire damage as poison until the end of the start of the next turn. Wow. Kind of cool. Unless, of course, you're one of the nasty boys. D8, there's more scum and a hateful man named Herod. One of the first victims... Mr. Dory, one of the first victims to be enthralled by the Whisperer after his arrival in the Styes. So that would be the Mind Flareness. We could argue, I think it would be a cool twist if Mr. Dory were actually an intellect devourer, because that's kind of a thing that... Oh, was it the Killer Krusty doll? Okay. I love you. Because that would be a cool twist about how he... I mean, we could do the Thrall thing, right? The Thralls are just whatever we want to do, but Mr. Dory has all these crazy different abilities. The bad thing is, Bear already did the water here, which is, of course, what the text is. I don't know if I wanted to do the water thing necessarily, because that is definitely like part of the Aboleth Thrall thing and madness. I like it. It makes it interesting. I guess I could make it so the Mind Flayer... Let's see, how... Maybe instead of an Intellect Devourer, he's a Deep Scion? Would that make sense? And the Mind Flayer is working with, like, the Kraken Society because they control the Kraken Society since they control the Kraken. He who controls the Kraken controls the Gay Society. It makes sense. We've previously fought a Deep Scion Assassin, which is what Ned was. which makes sense because the Deep Scion itself is actually only a CR3. So Deep Scion would actually make a better minion than the Scum would for their level, I think. Right? And then we could have Mr. Dory be a Scum. Mr. Dory is such a crazy stat block with all of his insane spells. Like, what is this dude supposed to be flying around and casting fireballs inside this, like, small little ship thing? Like, I just realized his environment where you find him is not conducive to actually using his stat block. Like, the battle, because he's in D9, I assume? Yeah, Dory's Chamber. This is like a 15 by 15 room inside of a wooden ship suspended over 50 feet above ground. This is not a good area to be throwing fireballs around, folks. He's got a flesh golem made from fish, monster lobsters, sharks, and octopi. I guess you could use a weird fish golem. Also feel like it'd be a fun time to use the shark bone skeleton that I've been dying to use from the Tome of Beasts. I think I brought that over at some point. I don't remember when. It's not here. Or there it is. Shark jaw skeleton, excuse me. Although it's only a CR1. But it looks so cool. I just love the look of the thing. That's hilarious. It bites, it claws, it grapples. Good minion thing, though, to use, for sure. Scum as a boss fight this time, to be minions later. Says Lazy DM. That's not a bad idea. More tentacles. Yeah, I know. We always need to add more tentacles. Ratchet up those tentacles. Those tentacles are rookie numbers, man. Get those tentacles up. Yeah, I think, what do we think about Deep Scion? Oh, Lumpy says, Deep Scion Warlock. Give it Hunger of Hadar and give Toril a taste of his own slurping sounds. It does kind of make sense. I keep talking about how he's got his powers, or he fought like other Fathomless people, and they haven't really used those powers. In fact, I think there may be... Let's see if there's a Deep Scion. Ooh, there's a Deep Scion Warlock from Monster Manual Expanded 2. Do you have some tentacle powers, my friend? Spellcasting. 1 day each. Cone of Cold, Everard's Black Tentacles, Lightning Bolt, Tidal Wave, and True Seeing. Also can cast Levitate and Mage Armor at will. Multi-attack. Howling Void. The Deep Scion opens a momentary extraplanar rift within 60 feet of it. The rift is a scream-filled 20-foot cube. I mean, this sounds like Hunger of Hadar. Let's see if it does saving throws. So maybe you can just give it Hunger of Hadar instead of Howling Void. Although it's a straight-up action with no recharge, which is kind of crazy. So we could just keep on casting Hungers of Hadars everywhere. What a pain in the butt. It has a Strike Screech. Okay. So... Deep Scions don't have to be immersed in water, though, right? It just says they can breathe air and water. Maybe they just feel more comfortable with it. I already said the thing... Well, I can still keep the Mind Flayer as the big bad boss. Who's in charge of everything here. One of the Mind Flayer generals. We could turn Mr. Dory into a high-powered... Which the Deep Scion Warlock is a CR8. Obviously, we'll keep his token. Mr. Dory's a CR10, so that's a nice way of kind of scaling it down. Again, the Styes is designed for level 11 players. Mine are level 8, so Part of the goal is to scale it down a little bit. We could maybe turn Mr. Dory into this Deep Scion Warlock, which has almost as many hit points, less mage, or less AC, 15 with mage armor. There's a Whispering Aura. Anybody within 10 feet of it has to make a Wisdom saving throw or just take 3d6 psychic damage. That's pretty nasty. Definitely give him Everett's Black Tentacles. You could give him Lightning Bolt, Cone of Coals, or plenty of damaging spells right there. I still like the idea of giving it some kind of Hunger of Hadar type ability. Maybe just replace Howling Void slightly with the Hunger of Hadar. And then, gosh, it's going to have so many actions. I don't even know what to do with that. And then maybe replace the Scum with the normal Deep Scion stat blocks. We have a chance to fight more of those, because those are only CR3. AC 11, 67 hit points. Multi-attack, apparently they carry battle axes. And they can use the Psychic Screech. 16 on DC 13. Wisdom saving throw will be stunned until the end of the Deep Scion. See, I like the fact that it's at least always a temporary stun. It's never like you're stunned, you have to keep making a save. Like, no, you're stunned until the end of the Deep Scion's next turn. I have to be very careful and not use that too often, but... You could even turn some of the guards downstairs into Deep Scion. Maybe like everybody here who works here is actually a Deep Scion in disguise. That'd be pretty creepy as well. Even turn like the thugs. So that would be a way of scaling it back up, though. So I think that's probably a good change. It's still watery. Although we talked about making Mr. Dory a Scum, which we could also do. I guess I just realized we're not using Scum then. Or we save Scum for closer to the main final boss. Let's see. So what do we think about that? Because I don't think the Scum actually has any spellcasting or extra abilities like the Warlock. I kind of want to keep Mr. Dory to where he's like a spellcaster, and I think the Deep Scion Warlock fits that really well. The Scum is just an auto attacker. It's powerful. Mind-breaking touch, can do 48 psychic damage. The Scum is the one that needs to have the water, so it makes sense that the Scum would be here. But I guess you could just flavor it like the Deep Scions just like to have water around. So we can keep the map art the same. And frankly, I kind of like the creepy, like, you're in this place that's like full of water and steam, and it's, I don't know, it just looks cool and makes for a neat kind of extra hazard here in this boat. Usually boats keep the water out. There's a door right here on the side of the boat. I don't, does it mention there's a door? This is D7, I think. Shows the smoke. Careful worrying balls in the walls to the walls between the apartment. I think I should need condensation and mildew. I don't think it does. So if we reduce all those Scum, which there's like 8 here, right? There's 3 in the shed, 3 inside this boat, and 2 inside this one, to Deep Scions. At the very least, that will help reduce this horrible gauntlet, and we may even reduce the number of Scum a little bit further. The players are... Mr. Dory is designed to surrender because they need information from him, or you have to do the thing what that video games do, obviously, where you find, like, you know, the journal entry on his body or something that has the relevant information. I don't know if I want to use the flesh golem. That feels like it's also kind of a bridge too far. Also, you want to come up with like unique artwork that's like this giant reflavored, reskinned, which is funny, version of the flesh golem. It's got all these fish parts to it. Very easy creature to run, obviously. It does absorb lightning damage, which is hilarious because you could send the Flesh Golem forward and then have the Deep Scion Warlock fire a lightning bolt, which will actually heal the Flesh Golem. Or I could use, like I said, one of those shark jaw skeletons or glass gator or something. Also interesting, but I'm tempted to not use this Mr. Tory stat block. It's just kind of hilarious. They gave him like all these amazing abilities and it gave him all these huge, amazing like AoE, like Fear, Fireball, and Cloud Kill, in a very itty bitty like boss battle space to where you would not want to use those actual abilities. I think reflavoring it down to a Deep Scion Warlock would be pretty good. What was the CR value of that? Do I remember? Shoot, I already clicked away from it. Deep Scion. I've been using a lot of Monster Manual expanded creatures already. It's been awesome having all those available. Really cuts down on having to create my own variant stuff and just take this and change it slightly. CR 8. So I could always juice it up and give it some more hit points if I really need to make this a full-on boss fight. But this is not the final boss fight, right? This is meant to be like a mini boss in the middle of the adventure. Like the rest of it is still to come, where you have to go to a whole nother dungeon and fight your way through that dungeon. So like the first half is very investigation, or really the first third, and then the next third is this warehouse thing, which kind of starts out as like RP, but quickly devolves into a fight, and eventually you're just fighting kind of the last couple rooms. Maybe dealing with a few hazards though, like the whole fire explosion should be really fun and all that, and then by the time they're racing, out here, although if they set the whole thing on fire, they may feel like, all right, well, let's just leave this place and let it burn and let everything go down, in which case maybe the whole ship will come crashing down. I don't know. Yeah, the Golden defeated and Dory captured, his bravado vanishes. He begs for mercy, promising information to the characters. In return, he willingly provides the following information in exchange for a promise of freedom. What are the odds that there's no way the party's gonna let him go? I don't know what information. General was guilty of Lantern Ghost murders, never anything but a mind controlled pawn. Obviously changing the cult of Tharizdun, living in the low quarter. The cult has made an alliance. Well, we could just replace Cult of Tharizdun with the Kraken Society. They're already Kraken Society. That's an easy change. So the Kraken Society has made an alliance with the sea monster, which the cultists have identified as a spawn of their dark god. That all makes sense for the Kraken Society, to have a juvenile Kraken be the spawn of their dark god. I mean, you could even argue that, like, maybe somehow, I don't know how Krakens reproduce, but was the Elder Brain controlled Slarkathel able to create a spawn? Or maybe Slarkathel already had, like, a young spawn and they sent it here. For some reason, that's really far away. But this, for the purposes of transforming it into some sort of Kraken Illithid hybrid, the first of its kind. So they'll be able to get some of that information here. Cultists augment the spawn's growth by incubating it in the fear and misery of the Styes. So I need to figure out how, like, tadpoles are created. And maybe they need, like, body parts from people. I don't know. I don't know if that lore exists. I need the full, like, life cycle of a Mind Flayer, basically. How do they do all these things? Because then I can tease that with the murder sites and the murder bodies, reflecting the fact that they're using these certain organs or pieces to generate these either extra tadpoles or one giant tadpole that they can use to infect the Kraken. Or maybe the Kraken's being continually fed tadpoles, and that's what's keeping it, like, maybe incapacitated. Ooh, that was some fucking lightning. We're gonna get hit again by another thunderstorm, by the way. The weather has been just fucking horrible this whole month. I just heard the thunder. Yep, fantastic. Ugh. So depressing. Now we have this, like, beautiful, gorgeous backyard. We've swam the last, like, 4 of the 5 days after the day where I did that whole horrible storm. So it depresses me when it does this. I'm ready for summer, damn it. Please, he's no different from the rest of you organisms, shooting DNA at each other to make babies. I find it offensive. Yeah. What is the one where they do the Bill Clinton and Bob Dole fucking Treehouse of Horror, and they're holding hands? Sir, the public is increasingly upset about holding hands with your opponent. If you know a way of exchanging long protein strains, I'd like to hear it, or something. It's been forever since I've seen that episode. 90s Simpsons. I used to have such a encyclopedic knowledge, and it's been a while. but they're still rolling around in my brain somewhere. Dory does know the location of the temple and gladly shares it. So that's the key information. If they end up killing Dory, then you'll need to have that information somewhere in the room or on his person where he has that information about the cults. So specifically, it's a Kraken Society. Okay, so that's an easy change. We just changed Tharizdun stuff to Kraken Society. That makes sense why everybody's a Deep Scion, because they've progressed along the Kraken Society skill tree progression track, and you go Deep Scion. If you get really higher, you go, there's Deep Scion Warlock, there's Deep Scion Assassin, all these other ones like Ned had gotten into, so I already teased the fact that that's a thing. I think fighting multiple Deep Scions is going to be a lot better. I don't think we're going to use the Scum, at least here in this area necessarily, but maybe when we get to the next area, which is called the Lamp's Shadow, I guess that's what the temple is called, maybe we can use some Scum there, because I do think it's a kind of a neat-ass stat block. Maybe we can come up with some way at the end where the Aboleth, if a character dies or an NPC dies, something, Aboleth can like transform somebody into Scum, and like suddenly they have like ally NPC Scums. We really want to keep it as just being like an Aboleth thing, because the Aboleth is their patron right now, basically. Fish from the deep sea. Careful includes a crumpled sheet of soggy parchment message. Okay. Cannot locate the cause. The catch again indicates a disturbance beneath us. Fear they may be in the water near you. Praise Tharizdun. He rests and awaits. The whisper anticipates renewed lantern ghost harvests. The young one must be fed. This is how you will serve us. The harvest must increase. So I'll need to kind of change this one. Bring the candle to the temple. Here we shall appraise its worth. Okay, and then it's the Mind Flayer who's actually creating the killers by turning them to thralls or turning them into intellect devourers. But no, I can't do that because it would have been noticeable because they executed Jarme and an intellect devourer did not pop out. So they're not Mind Flayers, or they're not intellect devourers. They must just be thralls. That's what I need to nail down also then. Because in the book, Jarme is more like going mad or something because of his control from the Aboleth, and at the end he's like drawing pictures of like squids and shit. I don't think a thrall would necessarily do that, but maybe there's something else going on there. Borges into a Scum. If Borges goes down. Oh, poor Borges. Really gone through the ringer. Is there any treasure from Ghost of Summer? By the way, very low on treasure. It's got monetary stuff, but no like cool magic items. Although 6 rubies worth 500 gold each is a hell of a thing. Hey, Cal. Fuck. I've got towels outside. Well, those are wrecked. It just started raining. I didn't think it would rain this quick. I thought it'd be done streaming. Oh, balls. Oh, well. Those towels are outside now. But speaking of which, I think we can go ahead and wrap up this crafting stream. So, yeah, because of this week being a big level up episode and travel episode, we could even do some shopping on Waterdeep. I don't know how far we're going to get. We'll probably just get a few steps into the investigation part of the Styes. I don't expect we'll actually make it to the warehouse. But maybe, depending on how quick they go through the investigation, maybe we'll make it all the way to the beginning of the warehouse, and then we can more discuss that. But I'm not even going to plan on really having too much of the warehouse like physically prepped. It's too late. Like, it is pouring rain right now. Those towels are soaked. We'll worry about prepping all the warehouse and then the other dungeon, because I believe Bear created these two, part 4 and 5, as kind of a one dungeon together for the next couple weeks. I don't expect Styes will take us nearly as long as Swagan Stronghold will, which is nice. And honestly, I'm not going to change too much of the main stuff I'm changing is this what I'm talking about, which is replacing the Aboleth with the Mind Flayer, but I'm trying to keep as much of it as, pretty close. And the other thing I'm changing is just scaling it down from the 11th level adventure to an 8th level adventure. But I'm looking forward to it. I just think, manage your expectations for this Fridays because we've got a kind of a, beginning of the quest arc is always level up and go through loot and all that kind of stuff. So maybe not as much progress being made. All right, so that will do it for this Crafting the Deep. If you enjoy the content as always, please check out patreon.com/RogueWatson. Shouts to Platinum patrons Joe, Will, Thomas, Dan, Brennan, Zensider, Eclectic, Roleplayer, Christopher, Gory, Big Nut, John F, John L, Eric, Tyler, Nathan, Cam, Crystal, Counselor, Andrew, Del, The Reldron, Captain Woody 79, Stephanie, Patrick, Jason, Ismail, Amit, Levy's Buzz, Charney, David, William, Nizak, Warden, Mike, and Cutest Fox. And gold patrons, RPG, Papercrafts, Pretty Boy, and Yuma, The Lizard Lounge, Sam, Jerome, Nathan, Fanatic, Scott, Rufus, Karen, Jerry, Glenn, Marcus, and Mark. Thank you all very much for your support. If you are a patron who signed up for the Patreon D&D game, I will see you tonight. For everybody else, I will see you tomorrow.